Recording in progress. If you're wondering, it's Elric that's making all the noise. He's very happy because it's Friday.
Yeah.
For Friday.
Got some contracts in, baby.
Oh, yeah. All right, let me do this. Okay, cool. I'll be 40 minutes with these guys and girls on
that's fine.
Scout training, and then if I can figure out how to do this.
Did Chris leave?
Yes.
Where's he goes?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
I'm kidding, I don't know.
Always fun.
Although my computer just in the middle of a Friday decides to do an update.
That happened to me the other day. It was very frustrating. I was about to get on a... Okay, let's see who is getting in on this. How do I just admit all? So that... like a button.
You can help it.
Just I'm technologically retarded.
Well, what do you need?
I just need to admit everybody. Anybody that shows up, just...
Well, they should show up. Waiting room, so view. And then just, so...
Admit all.
No, yeah, just admit all.
Oh, that's a message. Hey, Arturo, how's it going, mate?
Or if so like go to all
hi guys, good morning guys.
So whenever something pops up in the waiting
I just
room,
have to keep on click.
just keep on admitting.
All right.
Do you need it?
Yeah, I thought maybe it would be more automated than that. All right, guys. I'm going to dive straight into today's session because it might take up the whole time. So I'll just keep admitting people as they join, and I will bash through this session. So today, guys, what I'm going to do is, and if you're coming in late, don't worry about it. It's recording successfully the way I look of it, so it should be fine. Rush through. Put yourselves on mute.
Won the last 2 warm-up tournaments.
Put yourselves on mute, guys, please.
Not all the good teams were there. Oh, hang on.
Mute. Thank you kindly. Actually, I can do it here. Mute all. There you go. Cállate. Everyone, close your mouths. Mute all current new participants. Boom. Okay. All right, guys. So, all right, processes. I'm going to go through today. The process. You guys, obviously, as scouts, you're the feet on the floor, your front line, and you know what you're doing. You're out there. You're finding clients for us, right? You obviously you hook them in with your template, your message that you send through social media, and you ideally would have your first conversation with parents. There is another method where there's a lot of back and forth messages. My personal opinion is get on a phone call, have a conversation. It just works better. A lot of people do like to go back and forth getting messages and collecting information that way, especially with kids who generally don't want to speak on the phone. Completely understandable. But once you've done that, guys, once you've had that initial conversation, you're going to set up a group chat with your team leader or your scout director. Excuse the voice, guys. I've been sick all week. My apologies for that. If it sounds a little weird, I'll try my best. So once you've got these group chats going, you've already had a conversation with the kid, or at least some back and forth messages. You've also potentially had a call with mom and dad in an ideal situation, and then you've set up the group chat with us, and then someone like myself or a team leader or a scout director will then take that second call for you. All right. Now, something I want to talk about quite in depth today is once we've got to the end of that second phone call, many of you have been on the calls with myself and other team leaders. We're generally going towards, if we can figure out if this kid is good enough to go to university, academically good enough, athletically good enough, and there's enough interest from the family, then at the end of that conversation, I'm looking to do an assessment for them. Okay. So I'm going to try and do a quick share screen to show you what that looks like. So if you guys can look at the screen, you should be able to see this. And then what I do, let me see if I can scroll to, let's have a look. Send them. I'll send them. understanding something. Okay, so what I do is, guys, when I get to the end of a conversation, I'll go to the group chat, pretend like this is Keaton's number, but I go here, I click on document, and then I'm looking to send the assessment. So if it's an American football player, I'll send them this one. If it's a basketball player, I do rugby because that's right. And then from there, let me move this out of the way. I'll send that to them. Okay. Real simple. After the end of the conversation, I'm looking to collect a variety of information from the family, right? And that information looks like this. The assessment form is basically a series of questions about them, about their height, weight, strength, speed, personality. What else? Obviously, their statistics from school, their exam results. Let's have a look at it for you. This is the rugby one. They're all very similar, but they change a little bit for each sport. So name, where they're from, height, weight, date of birth. That gives the assessment team or the placement team an idea of when the kid is finishing school. But personal, what makes you different? What's the ultimate goal for you within the collegiate experience? And guys, you should have all seen this at some point if you've had conversations with me and had a group chat set up with one of your clients, and it's ended up at the end of a conversation. I generally will send this to those clients. Okay, so one of the most important factors when deciding on a university placement. And then these kids can put in what they think is relevant to them. You know, what's the most important? It has to be a D1 school. It has to be in Florida or California because I want good weather. Those are things that pop up. An important factor here, we are very direct. We tell people that what's your budget? We need to know a budget that we're working with. And there's a specific reason. I'll go to the placement team shortly and chat about that with them. But it's an important factor. If that kid puts on there, they've got a $2,000 budget per year, and then the kid's not very good at rugby, then it's probably not going to get a scholarship. Or equally, maybe academically, the kid's not very strong. So they're going to have to pay something, and $2,000 might not cut it. So at least we can directly say, without wasting a lot of time, we know even before we've done this analysis that so it's an important factor. So we don't have to waste time, and for them as well, we can be very direct with these families and sort of say, listen, this probably won't work for you. You might need to look at this. Your athletic resume required materials, primary position, so he's a prop or a hooker or a winger, whatever it might be. And then here, and that's fine too. But really, we want to get as much detail as possible about all of this so that the placement team can do their research. These assessments are very important because from this, we'll be able to tell the clients exactly what kind of schools they can get into, how much those schools cost, and what kind of scholarship they can get. So as you can see here, the academic resume, the school name, what school year are you in, when are you finishing your graduation year, and then what are the results within those schools, and have you done an SAT? Some of these kids come to us and they're already halfway through. Okay, just wanted to get that in front of you so you know what it is that I'm talking about. With that assessment form, eventually we produce something that looks like this. I don't know who this is. This is Jan Duhovnik. Remember, I think he's from Slovenia. We've done that. I'm waiting for him to respond so that I can deliver this to him. But this is a presentation that gets put together by the assessment team. So this is the assessment report that gets produced by the placement team. Okay, it looks nice, but basically this is the important information. You have the athlete's name, the date, when they're going to go into school. So this guy Jan is actually finishing school, I believe, next June, the summer of 22. We believe he's going to go D1, D2 with the NCAA. We've got SAT target. That's the score that we want him to get so that we can be successful. That's his GPA. And then the conferences that we think would be good. Now, I'll get on the placement team shortly and they'll explain a little bit more detail. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's a long jumper. So this is some information, additional notes to explain to the family, what it is that he can or cannot do, where he can go, where he can't, that kind of thing. This particular one was done with Joe, the vice president, and Fabian, who's the director of the placement team. Okay, give you a quick idea about that one. All right, so you've gotten to that stage, okay? What I'll do is, Joe, are you around? Joe? Joe's not here. Oh, he'll be with us in a couple of minutes. So what I'll do is, just so you guys know, once a client signs up, okay, what we do is we then go, they sign up, they register with us, they sign the contract, and that goes through to Christoph. Christoph's in Holland, so he's the accountant.
This is Christoph from the Netherlands, and now he's gonna say something about himself.
Yes. Hello everyone, my name is Christoph.
Awkward.
So what we do is it goes over to Christoph. The contract goes over to Christoph, and then he approves everything. He'll normally call the scout director or the team leader or me, and when he does that, just to verify everything that's in that assessment or in that contract. Okay. I could even show you guys while we're waiting. I can show you what the contracts look like. So they'll sign up. This contract goes through to Christoph. Christoph calls us when the contract comes through. So this is the pricing, scholarship management, all of the different memberships that you can choose, all of the different services, and then the client will go here to sign their contract. It might take a little while, but I just want to show you. So it goes through. We use something called DocuSign. Joe, can I get you in like 2 minutes, mate?
5 minutes.
5 is fine. Perfect. And then they would click on this, they click on here, and this I would normally walk through, and Scout Director can walk through this contract with them as well once they're comfortable with it. And basically we fill in this information. So this is the client choosing the things that they want. You can click on this one or this one. Okay. They put in their billing information, very important. And then this gets completed. This reflects the assessment usually. So they're going to go in 2022. They're going to play in probably D2 or D1. We're talking about Jan, right? Remember? And then his budget, he's probably going to need this kind of a budget. And then they would put the scouts. Okay. So from that, guys, that gets sent. It goes to Christoph. And then Christoph checks with us and then sends it to media. So within Pipedrive, then everyone's happy. Client now is officially a client. They've signed a contract, and then it goes to the media department. Okay, the media department's over here. I just saw Jezebel. Go in. Is she here? Jezebel here. Knock knock. Hi, Jezebel. Can I borrow you for a second? Okay.
Cool. Well, let's get it.
This is the media room. This is Jezebel. We'll go outside here just because there's a meeting going on in there. So Jezebel, talk us through real quick what you're in there. What happens once Christoph receives the contract? It gets sent over to you guys in media, and then you guys send out an email. What's the purpose of that email that goes out to the clients?
Yeah, so pretty much we would send out like a profile form. It would have like a list of questions that you would want to be put on your profile. And it would also require a couple things from you guys, like some pictures and some videos for you. And then that would get sent over to us and put in our media team, and we'd pretty much take those videos, make a highlight reel for you, take those photos, it'd be put on your profile along with all the information from the questions that you filled out. And that's how we create your online profile for coaches to see.
Perfect. All right. Easy as that. Thank you, Jezebel in the media department. Okay, so they do that. I didn't want to interrupt them too much because there was a meeting going on. By the looks of it, it sounds like Chris was on a meeting with Hannah, who's our new videographer, and a few other people in the background. So, but yeah, so they get that, and at that point, we're up and running, all in good time. So that usually will take about 24 hours. The ladies there put that profile together, and this is what the profiles look like. I'll quickly type it up. Okay. Hopefully you're all still following along. Thank you for your patience, guys. So this is what the profiles look for the clients. This will just Matejka Brasic. Okay, so these are the profiles that the media team put together for the clients. It's got all of their stats that we collected, you know, when they're finishing, when they're going to school, the positions they play. There's usually a very nice video being created. Give you a second to look at this. Is that New Zealand or Australia? So it's a quick highlight reel. We identify the player in that. Usually a variety of games, and all looks very nice. Okay, so we have that for them. Now, a bit more information that comes into this. Obviously, their exam results from school. The SAT for this particular kid is pending. It's not done. He hasn't done his SAT yet. And then there's pictures, and all looks very nice and professional. So then we send this through the placement team to all of the college coaches. Okay. And now when the college coaches receive this, obviously they may receive multiple, but let me see if I can get Joe, so I can ask Joe a few questions about what the placement team do. Joe says 1 more minute. You know why Joe needs 1 more minute? Because he's feeding his fat face. I'll give him 30 more seconds. But Joe is the vice president. Okay, so he has been part of the placement team. And what they do basically is, you'll see them there. They're a little bit light today. It's Friday. A few of them are traveling. I think Fabian might be sick as well. But what they do is they're constantly calling the college coaches. Okay, and they're having conversations about.
Coffee and I'll be in.
Okay.
With my fat.
So what they're doing, they're constantly calling the college coaches just to have their finger on the pulse of what is happening within the conference that coach is participating in, the school itself, what kind of scholarship money is available, obviously checking in on clients, that kind of thing, so that we can really be at the head of the arrow and understand exactly what coaches are looking for, so that when one of our clients comes in, then we can send that over. So Matija Brasic from, I believe it's New Zealand, when he comes in to our system, our guys already know, you know what, this coach over here in Arizona State, for example, is going to need a player of this position, of this quality, and with these kind of exam results. Okay, so all very previous videos you've already seen in your training, following all of those, getting a good idea from us in this process. And I think just for you guys to get an idea of how we work together, we're all very close here. You've got the media department right next door. This is Chris's office that I'm sat in with Elric. You got the placement team right next to me as well. So we're having these meetings. I believe they finished the assessment meeting just a little while ago, just a few minutes ago, before I started doing this call. So they'll try and do that a couple of times a week, at least, sometimes 3 times a week, to fulfill all of those assessments. So, for example, I think this week I've probably received about 6 or 7 assessments from clients that I need to submit. Didn't get them submitted this morning. I was a bit busy this morning, so I didn't get them submitted before they started their meeting. So I'll have to do that this afternoon, so that Monday morning when they come in and do the assessment meeting again, my 5, 6, 7 assessments will be ready to go. Okay, here we got Joe. Come and take a pew, Joe. I want to speak with you. Grab Elric's chair. I think he's gone out. So I want to speak with you about the process from when we submit the assessment. So you guys have your meetings 2-3 times a week. Mm-hmm. What happens in there? This is for the scouts.
Wait, explain again.
So I've gone through the process of what we do and how I end up giving an assessment to the client, and they return it to me. Yeah. And then basically I dump about 20 of those on you per week, which I know you love. Yeah. I'm your favorite assessment guy. From that, what do you guys do with it?
All right. So 3 times a week we have assessment meetings where we sit down and we look very objectively at that person's athletic ability, their academic ability, you know, and then really what's important to them as a person. What are they aiming for within their experience? Is it, you know, they're looking, the most important thing for them, is it the standard of education? Is it the weather? Is it the standard, you know, is it the facilities on campus? Is it the location? Is it proximity to an airport? Like all these different things, every athlete that we work with is a little bit different. So we're really looking at, you know, what objectively is possible from an athletic and an academic perspective. But then we're also looking at, you know, the more character-based things, like what's important to them. We then basically produce an assessment report, which will explain a number of things. That assessment report will explain which divisions we would target, specifically which conferences we would focus on, what we think a realistic budget is as well. And we'll be very conservative with that budget because we want families to have a very, you know, a very real understanding of what's achievable. You know, and then really what we ask is that the family kind of goes away and does some research on those conferences, you know, on the universities within those conferences. They discuss it as a family in terms of the budget. You know, they have a real conversation about it and they write down some questions. And then ideally, you know, that sort of salesperson will get on the phone again and sort of explain to the family why we suggested the Sunshine State Conference. Why did we suggest the GNAC conference with a 15 to 20K budget? Why did we say that? Maybe because this conference has a really good culture of academics and it has a really good balance of education and sport, you know, lots of different things. So, you know, once we get that completed assessment form back from the client, you know, either Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, we do these assessment meetings. We will produce an assessment report. Salesperson will send that back to that client, give them a few days to digest it, write down some questions, you know, because it's quite an overwhelming document. You know, there's a lot there. There's a lot of conferences. There's a lot of divisions. There's a budget, you know, there's a lot to talk about. And I endorse families to write down questions so that next call that you have, there's a lot to talk about. You know, and really from there, that's when the family's kind of in a position where they're either going to say probably yes or no. They're probably going to have a lot of questions and they'll either be very happy with what we're suggesting and it'll make sense to them, in which case we can look at the services and the sign-up process. If they don't, good riddance.
Ciao.
You know, we're not just going to sign people to sign people, you know.
So I got a quick question then. So for example, here we've got this is Jan Duhov. In his case, he's a D1, D2 candidate, but he's got two different possible budgets here.
The reason why that's got me written all over it, I can say that that's me. The reason why I've put that is because probably for Division 2, it's a 10 to 16K budget.
Got you.
For a Division 1, we think they're capable of playing D1. That's what we're saying. We think you are capable of playing D2, and we also think you are capable of playing D1. In order to get Division 1, probably a 16 to 24K is going to be required.
Got you.
At this stage.
He won't get as much scholarship money in D1 as what he might do in D2.
We can find you places, but it's going to cost you more money.
Got you.
If that athlete wants that, then that's okay.
Right.
You know, and I will have probably suggested, you know, in order to be, so obviously this looks like a long jumper, you know, in order to be considered you know, a strong Division 1 recruit, ideally you need to hit this, you know, and that's when big scholarship offers are going to come. But as it stands right now, with what we have to present to a coach, we predict you're a D2 athlete with a, you know, 10 to 16K budget, or if you want to go D1, which is possible, you're going to have to up the budget to 16 to 24.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. That one explains that then. Is there anything that you think the scouts can help us with when we're going through this process? Because I'll generally do a group chat and then have a call with the parents, and I like to have the scout or scout directors involved in that call. And when they're returning the assessment, what other things might they need to give to us, or what could the scout potentially ask them to collect prior to these conversations or prior to the assessment that would help with the assessment process?
I think one thing that would be really useful is, you know, showing the urgency on why it's important to get this form back quickly. You know, so the only issue with the assessment process we implemented a long time ago now, but it's been a big game changer for us. It's much healthier from a service perspective in terms of, you know, the recruitment process and our placement team. It's so much healthier now, the way our athletes are being serviced, but it's also really good from a sales perspective because it builds a lot of trust and that kind of thing. The only objection that we get with the assessment process is some families take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get the form back to you.
Right.
If you explain very carefully the value of the assessment process and you explain very carefully why we do it and why getting it back sooner rather than later is advantageous to them, that's significantly more helpful to us. The other thing I would say in terms of, ask the question again.
So what is it that they can do as scouts to help us with the assessment process of that client once they're returning it or getting ready to return?
I guess the biggest thing is qualifying the athlete first. You don't need to dig too deep. Refer to, and if you don't have access to it, we will share all of the Dropbox stuff with all of those pages that have the different qualifications. I know there's so many different variables to qualifying an athlete, and I don't expect you to be able to do it immaculately, but referencing I would print all of those different sports that you typically work within and look, you know, and find that information from the athlete. Where is their score? If it's a golfer, what is their scoring average? What is their handicap? If it's a soccer player, what kind of clubs have they played for? Are they just playing with their uncle in their back garden? Or are they playing for, you know, a Sunday pub team? It's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, just because they have 2 legs, boots, and they've got a ball in front of them does not make them a qualified student athlete, right? But, you know, ask questions.
Yeah.
That's the biggest advice I would give is ask questions, right?
In that first conversation that they're having with the kid and the parents before the conversation comes to us, having those light conversations about where do you play, who do you play for, what division is that in?
Learn about them.
Yeah.
Learn about them. You know, what is it that motivated you to come to America? What is it that interests you? Why would you want to come to the US as opposed to staying in Panama? Why would you want to go to the US as opposed to staying in South Africa? Like, what is it that's motivating you to do this? That's really good information that you can pass on to a salesperson after. You know, and from an academic and an athletic perspective, you know, take the time to learn about them. You know, what's your biggest achievement within your sport? If you were speaking to a Division I coach right now and they asked you, what's your biggest achievement? Why should I recruit you? What would you say?
Right.
If you ask a kid that, they're going to vomit all of their things.
I'm the captain and we won the championship last week.
And those
in my
small
town.
details are really important, you know, for us to be able to assess them accurately. Just something as small as being the captain shows leadership, it shows independence, it shows that you've been regarded as that kind of thing. That's something that we'll take into consideration when we're doing an assessment report. So the biggest thing that I know our, you know, salespeople that do this full time would appreciate is qualified. You know, it's people that are coming through that they know have got the athletic and academic ability.
Right.
And it is our job in a sense to do an assessment and to qualify, but assessments should only be coming if a family is actively aiming to come to the US.
Right.
So if they've made the decision, you know, it's not just, oh, well, we're 99.9% sure we're going to go to university in England.
Right.
But if you've got something really cool to offer, then let's see what it is. You know, we don't want to be doing 6,000 assessments for just random people.
Yeah.
We want to do assessments for people that are actively interested and aiming to get a sports scholarship in the US.
Because it is time consuming.
Yeah, it's time consuming.
There's a lot of work you have to do.
And
about that.
it's far more beneficial for you as scouts in terms of financials. You know, if they're you guys making money and getting your commission and that kind of thing, the more qualified that the person is, the likelihood. I train my people to be very good at what they do. I have no concerns about whether or not they'll get the deal in. What's important is that they're qualified. If the athlete is not just qualified athletically and academically, but also they have a clear intent to do this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of really really good student athletes out there, but if they have absolutely no interest whatsoever and they're actively not remotely interested in coming to the US, that's not a qualified league.
Right. They've got to check off at least two or three of the boxes.
So, obviously scouts are incredibly productive and they do a great job. The only thing I could suggest, they do a great job, so there's not really much to say, but the only thing I would say, not necessarily something to change, but something to remind yourself, is try and find the most qualified student athlete academically, athletically, and that there's an intent to do this.
Right.
If you can tick all three of those boxes and my people don't close it, that's when you can call me and say, Joe, what the hell's going on?
Right. They're not doing their job.
They're not doing their job.
Fair enough.
And
All right.
I hope
Before you go, I've got one more thing. So the placement team,
Mhm.
once they've got everything, the clients on board, what are the placement people doing on a day-to-day basis? Not in terms of the assessment, after it. Once they've signed, what are they doing?
Once an athlete has signed, a group chat will be made, typically between Christoph, he's our support manager, he's paid a salary purely to be responsible for visa, NCAA eligibility center, admissions, all of the nitty-gritty paperwork stuff that nobody else wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's responsible for all of that. Obviously, Fabian, he's our director of athlete management. He's in charge of making sure that the recruitment processes of all of our athletes are going well, are healthy, that kind of thing. The placement director for that sport, so if it's golf, it's going to be Chris Grace. If it's soccer, it's probably going to be Joao. If it's tennis, it's probably going to be Matty Charlton, etc., etc., etc. Once that group chat's made, that's basically central communication, and probably then what we do, we have like a recruitment checklist, where basically we want to make sure that athletes are speaking with coaches by a certain time, recruitment processes are flowing well, and that is made accountable by not only us but the family as well. So it's shared between both.
So it's like a timeline for those.
It's a timeline, a checklist, whatever you want to call it. We have to get this done by a certain time, and everybody's accountable. And if there's certain things that the athlete needs to do that we don't have control of, we can say, hey, you need to get this done. If there's certain things that we're responsible for and the family's like, when do we get this done? We're like, okay, we need to get on that and get it done.
Yeah.
In terms of more from a recruitment perspective, obviously what families essentially are investing in here is the network that we've built, over the last 10 years. So we're going to be constantly reaching out to coaches and learning about what those coaches are looking for 22, for 23. If it's a soccer coach, I'm going to say, Coach, what are you looking for? And he's going to tell me, I need a left back, a goalkeeper, and a striker for 2022. That's much more strategic for me than just blasting a bunch of players to his program.
And that's based on him knowing that a certain set of kids are going to graduate, presumably.
Yeah.
Right.
So he knows what his budget looks like. He knows how much money he's got. So that's a follow-up question I'll ask. We said centre back and a goalkeeper. At that point, I'm then going to say, okay, great. For those positions, what scholarship money do you have available? Maybe for the striker, he's got a full ride. For the goalkeeper, he's got a full ride, but the left back, it's a 50%. I'm then going to look at our players. Who has a budget? Who doesn't? Who do I think is capable of playing here? Who do I not? And then we'll market those players using the profiles to those coaches. And we replicate that hundreds and thousands of times over.
For all of the kids and then to all of those coaches.
Yeah. And so all of these, kids are getting connected with numerous coaches, getting lots of scholarship offers that they can digest and choose between. And then typically once a commitment happens, that's when Christoph takes over. That's more the admissions, the paperwork, the visa, all the logistical based stuff. He takes responsibility and works with the families to make sure that they've got all their ducks in a row there. But yeah, we essentially follow the checklist and the timeline to be as structured as possible so that the families know exactly what's expected, what needs to get done, by when, how, all those things.
Nice. Okay, mate. Thank you. Guys, is there anybody in there that would like to ask any quick questions for myself or for Joe before I wrap this up? I think we gave you a lot of information today. I did record it, so if you came in late, you'll be able to catch the first few minutes. But let me know. Any questions? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Then that's a wrap for today, guys. I want to thank very much Joe. Thanks for Jezebel, who was next
See you
door.
later, mate.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Joe.
you all of you for your hard work. I appreciate you.
And guys, yeah, anything more that you want to know about all of these processes? I know there's a lot of information. I just want to give you like a crash course in what we do. You know, once you've done your job, and then we're taking over and sort of the processes behind the scenes. I thought that might be useful to you guys. But yeah, any questions? Feel free to message me directly or within the group. I like to have a lot of foot traffic in that group chat. So if you've got questions in there, feel free to put them in. There are no stupid questions. Some people are brand new, and some people have been with us for a while. So, you know, a lot of the guys that have been with us for a while might actually be able to answer the questions for me and before I get to it. So feel free to ask questions in there. This was just a bit of an insight into what we do after your job's being done in terms of finding clients, and then what the process, the sales process, and then the service process afterwards. So again, any questions you have along the way, guys, feel free to message me. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to try and get a training next week, maybe Monday or Wednesday, maybe both. I just want to try and ramp up these kind of bits of information that we get to you. And this was recorded, so I'll try and save the recording before I lose it, and get it up into the group chat so you can review any of this. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to you all guys very soon. If you've got anything for me, guys, remind me. If I haven't responded to a client of yours that you've got a group chat in, please give me a nudge. I'm happy to do that. I've had a wild couple of weeks. I've been traveling pretty much every weekend for the last 6 weeks. So I tend to land on Monday and spend basically Monday trying to catch up with what happened Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So yeah, feel free to give me a nudge, guys. Don't be scared to say, hey, Gavin, you've missed something. It happens a lot. All right, guys, thank you so much.